Good morning. As you all know, today is the last or press conference for showcasing our athlete for ski, Mr. Adam Cook. Without further ado, I'll welcome Mr. Ephraim Penn, the BVIC President, to make his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cliff, and thank you for being here, everyone. And it's indeed a pleasure for us to sit here today to present Adam to the wider Virgin Islands community. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, present, friends, fans of Adam and ski, Mr. Barney Cook, the president of the BVI Ski on my right, Adam on my left. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure for us to come together at this moment to present our representative at the next Winter Olympic Games. And it sounds a bit strange to say Winter Olympic Games, but it is true. We are going to the Winter Olympic Games, and we do have a very competent and competitive athlete who is going to be representing the Virgin Islands, I'm sure, with pride and honor, in Adam. It is with pride and pleasure that we support Adam, as he is known by family and friends, who will bear the flags of the Virgin Islands at the next Winter Olympic Games. In fact, the first time the Virgin Islands ever represented the Olympics was in the Winter Olympic Games in Sarajevo in 1984, when Errol Fraser took part in speed skating. Errol is believed to be the first black speed skater, which is something that we should note and be proud of. I have a photo of Errol here. He is the late Errol Fraser. He's the first ever BVI Virgin Islands Olympian in Winter Sarajevo 1984. And as I said, it's something that we hold with pride. Adam has worked extremely hard to be where he is today. And we congratulate him and we fully support him. In fact, I was reminiscing last night before I came here as to how far we came, because I think it was back in the early 2011 where we received the application from BVI Ski to become a member of the British Virgin Islands Olympic Committee. And everyone in the group, I think it was 2010, this whole thing started, and everyone in the group said ski, winter, British Virgin Islands. And we are trying to make the connection, and it was back and forth for quite a while. I think our treasurer, Mark Chapman, came into one of our executive meetings. He said, "Yes, I know the family quite well, and Adam is truly a BVI lander, and he is very competitive, and he's very good." So we said, okay, well, let them show us that there is talent there. And of course, he went back to Barney, and we started receiving clips and information about his progress and how well he was doing. And then, lo and behold, we were told that he is now accumulating so many points that is not a doubt he's going to be a top-class performer. And we proceed in doing the right thing and having the BVI Ski as one of our members. And now we are proud that we did that, because now Adam has earned the right. It's not as if he is just been, okay, you're from the Virgin Islands, they don't have ski, so let's get a universal entry. He has earned the right to be on there competing with everyone else, and we are very proud to be a part of that program. And we are proud to be not only to Adam, but to be there for all Virgin Island athletes who have ambition, who have talent, and who have reached to that elite level. Because our real objective and strategy is to prepare the Virgin Islands athletes for the highest level of local, regional, and international competition, and also to protect the Olympic movement in the Virgin Islands in accordance with the Olympic Charter. And that's our strategy. Our objective is, once we have a strategy that says we need now to get the elite athletes to where they need to be competitive. And to get in our elite athletes on the podium, increase the number of sports participating in the major games, and as I said, promoting Olympic values, including respect, excellence, and friendship. And now we have really gone on a new push because we realize that as we get more athletes competing internationally, there's always a fear of doping and what have you. So we need to educate our athletes up front, very early, about the dangers of doping. So we have promote drug-free sports through the water programs in the Virgin Islands. So we have taken that on, and we have done quite a number of programs to make sure that that happens. So our priorities basically are to focus on preparing for attendance at the major games for 2014 through 2016. And those are, of course, Sochi in 2014, that's in February. The Commonwealth Games in July of 2014 in Glasgow. The Youth Olympic Games 2014 in Beijing, that's August of this year. The Central American and Caribbean Game in Veracruz, Mexico, in November. And in 2015, the Pan American Games in Toronto, Canada, the Commonwealth Youth Games in Samoa, and of course, in 2016, the Olympic Games in Brazil. We also continue with our program of promoting the Olympic values, and our executive directors, Cleve, have been around to schools and what have you, and we intend to promote and continue that program. And one of the, as I mentioned earlier, one of the key things we want to do is the anti-doping, because you can be as good as you can be, but if you do it illegally, sooner or later you're going to get caught. And we want to encourage our athletes to play clean and to be true to themselves and to the sport that they love. Our major program areas that we are going to be focusing on to get our athletes to the podium is athlete scholarship. Adam has been a recipient of the Olympic scholarship. We lobbyist with government for programs. In fact, we are working with the Ministry of Education for an elite athlete scholarship program, where we are going to be partnering with the ministry, where the BVI Olympic Committee will administer the program and also have matching funds from the government. And that's going quite well, and that should be coming on stream hopefully next year. Olympic Day activities, of course, it happened every year. Our Olympic Solidarity programs, sport management and sports development programs, workshops, and of course we're going to have a huge event come April, the Queen Baton Relay. It's going to be in the Virgin Islands early April, so encouraging everyone to get prepared. It's a fun event, so those who are like me, who still think they can run, can get out their shoes and start preparing, because we want to get as much of the public involved as possible. So we'll be coming around encouraging people to be a part of that. So, but we are here today for a special occasion, as I said, to present Adam to the public, and to really present a new sport that once come February, the Virgin Island name will be seen on the TV at the Olympics, in a sport that most Virgin Islanders are not familiar with. So it's very key that we get you prepared now for what's coming, because it is going to happen, barring any major injuries. Adam has qualified. He is a legitimate qualifier. He will be there. And to bring us up to speed on what the BVI Ski Association is, I'll turn it on to Barney, and he can take it from here.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to reiterate a little bit of history about it, Adam was born here in Tortola, and we moved to the United States in 2001 to put our kids through high school. When we moved, Adam went from sand to snow, discovered snow and fell in love with it, and started skiing, and then begged us to send him out to Colorado to go to school so he could pursue it. And he attended an academy in Crested Butte the first year, was encouraged by Bud Keane, who was Shaun White's coach for the last 2 Olympics, who was the head coach there at the time. And then unfortunately, shortly after that, the school closed and we had to move him over to Vail, where they'd started a public school program at Vail Ski and Snowboard Academy. He went there and lived with his other coach from Crested Butte, Noah Brooks, and attended the school and skied competitively. The whole program is geared to winter athletes being afforded the opportunity to compete while still pursuing their academic programs. Adam competed during that time and decided he wanted to pursue it after he graduated from high school, and we supported him wholeheartedly. And with the 2014 Winter Olympics approaching, and with ski halfpipe being introduced into it for the first time, along with ski slopestyle and snowboard slopestyle, the opportunity to go arose, and so we started considering how we could make that happen. And the first step was to form the BVI Ski Association, which proved to be a little bit of a challenge early on because the Olympic Committee told us we had to be approved by the International Ski Federation, and the Ski Federation told us we had to be approved by the Olympic Committee. So we ended up with this, little dilemma, and eventually the Olympic Committee were able to give us a letter that we could send to FIS, which allowed us to become accredited by them and recognized by the Olympic Committee. And so the association was formed. Obviously, with there being no snow here, it's difficult to promote the sport very much in the BVI, but in order for Adam to go to the Olympics, it had to be done. The Olympic Committee has been extremely supportive since that was done. As Ephraim mentioned, Adam qualified and got an Olympic Solidarity Scholarship, which has helped enormously with his training. He has a coach called Luke Allen who's worked with him since the Vail Ski and Snowboard Association time, and he will be going to the Olympics with him as his primary coach. It's one of those things, if you have a kid with talent, I think you try and do everything you can to help support them and to help them achieve their goals, and that's what we've tried to do. It's been enormous that the Olympic Committee have set behind it as well, and we'll look forward to going to Sochi in 2014. Fingers crossed Adam stays healthy. And I think I hand it over to Adam to let you tell him a little bit more about the sport and the training involved.
Yeah, so thank you to Ephraim and also my dad for nice comments and everything. So basically, halfpipe skiing involves, it's usually about a 500-foot long snow structure that is shaped like a U, and you ski down it doing usually 5 or 6 airs out of it and performing tricks, and then you're judged by a panel out of 100 based on difficulty, amplitude, style, and the overall impression. That's how the contests are run. So basically how I got into it was in Wisconsin, and I just would mess around on the weekends with my friends, and then started taking it more seriously and doing competitions. And then, like my dad mentioned, I got the chance to move out to Colorado and pursue it more professionally, I guess, and was then introduced to bigger half pipes and more into the industry and being able to travel to competitions and really start building a reputation for myself, I guess. And to do the training for the sport, you work on trampolines, so you're bouncing and doing the tricks so that it's in a safer environment, rather than just trying it straight away on snow and taking the risk of injury. So we work on trampolines quite a bit, and then also in the summertime there are water ramps in Park City where you can ski down a plastic surface, and then there's jumps into a pool of water that's aerated so that it's a little bit softer. And that's kind of the next step of taking the tricks from the trampoline and then having actual skis and ski gear on your feet. And then you take that from there onto snow, and I guess that's kind of the evolution of how you learn and progress yourself in the sport. Yeah. And this year last year was the qualifying year for the Olympics, so I had to place in one top 30 in a World Cup event, which I managed to do, and then you also had to accumulate a certain number of points to be considered for the Olympics for next year, which I managed to do as well. So like Cleve said, it's not like I'm just being able to compete in the Olympics because of where I'm from, but I've actually earned it and managed to qualify. So this year we have I think there are 4 events leading up to the Olympics that I'll be competing in, which are a Grand Prix at Copper Mountain in December, and then also a Grand Prix event in January that actually takes place over my birthday, which is in North Star, California. And then after that, we go to Park City at the end of January, and then the next event after that will be the Olympics in Sochi in 2014 in February. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope to make the BVI proud, ski as hard as I can, and push myself in the coming months to achieve my goals of going to the Olympics and competing at my highest ability. So I'm very happy.
We now turn it over, obviously, to Unimedia to ask any questions you may have to any of the persons at the podium.
You said that you had to place in the top 10. You're a top 30 finish. Is this a FIS event?
Yes, it's at a FIS event, and it had to also be, I believe it had to be, we have another format, it's called the AFP, the Association of Free Skiing Professionals, and that's another ranking that we've had previously before we were involved with FIS, the sport that is, and so they've kind of come together hand in hand, and so you had to place top 30 in a World Cup that was an AFP Platinum event, so that being the highest level. There's silver, gold, and platinum.
And what was your finish?
I had a 14th place at the World Championships this year in Oslo, Norway, which was one of them. And then again, just a couple weeks ago in New Zealand, we had a World Cup where I placed 10th. So.
And do you know off the top of your head how many points you need to accumulate?
I do not, actually.
And
Bernie, you might know.
I'm trying to remember now. They keep moving it around, but the points are earned, as Adam said, it kind of varies from event to event depending on whether it's the FIS points are earned at FIS recognized events, which are mostly the World Cups, and you have to accumulate, I believe, 85 points. I think is the number.
okay, no worries, no worries. Let me ask you this. The sport was, the event that you are going into, the halfpipe skiing, that was just approved for this Olympics. If it wasn't approved, do you think the BVI would still be going? Do you think you'd still be going to the Olympics? Would there be another event?
Not particularly, no. I used to compete in slopestyle and halfpipe, but then when I kind of first started getting into it, there was the idea that it could make the Olympics in 2014, and every year it kind of became more of a reality. And then I think it was 2012 was when it was approved, and so from that point on, it was like full on go ahead. And so I stopped competing in slopestyle and just focused on halfpipe completely. And honestly, I don't think that I would have tried to go for slopestyle. Slopestyle wasn't even in for snowboarding in previous Olympics, whereas it was for halfpipe. And so without halfpipe skiing being included in the Olympics, I would not be going.
Was it 2010 that the BVI, or 2012 that the BVI Ski Association was created?
Yeah, I think we were talking about, I think it was like 2011.
It's finally approved,
when
but they made
finally got it
application, the process, because we had, as I said, we had to really get our hands on what we were doing. We didn't want to just arbitrarily do something. We had to make sure that everything was in sync, and that, and of course, as I said, someone come to you with a name like that, you have to research it and be comfortable. And then once you find that it was a legit, and everything was good, we proceeded. And as Bonnie said, it was the chicken and the egg, which one come first, and we had to get all that worked out.
Because you then have to wait for FIS to approve you. and the FIS only have meetings, I think, every 2 years when they can do it. So it initially went to a meeting where it was provisionally approved, and then at the next meeting they made it official. But in the meantime, he was allowed to change his country and start competing officially for Virgin Islands.
Are you guys preparing, I think, maybe for the onslaught of media attention? I mean, it seems like the media always kind of gravitates to these types of stories, and especially with the history behind the BVI's participation in the Winter Games in the past. Have you guys thought about that at all? I mean, it seems like you're going to be coming from all different angles. A lot of people, I mean, positive, of course, but I mean, yeah, I mean, you are coming from a warm climate, and you know, the first thing that comes to mind is the Jamaican bobsled team. I mean, everyone seems like, here they are. So, have you guys done any kind of preparation or any kind of thought about that? I mean, I know that's a little bit down the road, but I mean, we're small time here, but I think you are gonna.
It's definitely been a thought for sure. As of the last couple of years, it hasn't gotten very much attention. People don't, other than I would say the general public, people in the industry haven't really like grasped onto it and taken it as something out of the blue and something extraordinary. So it could go either way. Honestly, I don't know. I hope it gets some good attention, but
you have the Olympic. What's the National Olympic magazine that you're going to be in before the Olympics?
There's Olympic Review magazine, it's called, where they do an issue for every Olympics that is released. I think it's monthly as well, but they have one issue that comes out during the Olympics that I'm featured in for this year. So that is the biggest attention that I've gotten media-wise so far. But I'm definitely preparing for it, but who knows whether or not it will be as big as or as small as expected.
Could you have qualified for the U.S. Olympic team, and why did you choose the BVI?
It's hard to say whether or not I could have. Yeah. There is a U.S. team, but they don't decide the Olympic team until like 2 weeks before the actual Olympics. So it's hard to say whether or not I would, but it's always been a thought of mine that if I were to go to the Olympics, why would I go for the U.S. when I was born in the BVI? Like, this is my home country, so I don't see any other reason why I would ski for anywhere else. Is, I guess, what I would say.
Well, that's good to know. Speaking about the media onslaught, that has crossed my mind. Now you're making me nervous as to how we're going to deal with it. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. In fact, there are two, as far as I know, there are two other countries in the Caribbean for sure who are going to the Olympics, Winter Olympics. The Cayman Islands has competitors going, the U.S. Virgin Islands has. So it's going to be, I know for sure that it's going to be at least 3 of us there. So we'll see which one come out on top.
What are some of the challenges from the Media Olympic Committee? You guys are really used to dealing with the Summer Olympics, but with the Winter Olympics, so what kind of challenges have you guys faced?
Well, it created a lot of challenges. First of all, getting to know the sport closely and getting to relate to the preparation for the sport in the winter. As I said, we'll always watch the Winter Olympics on TV and what have you. So we've never been, and we didn't expect to be here. So it's an adjustment, and our chef de mission, who's unfortunately not here today, Mark Chapman, has been there, and he has really caught on and really been in close contact with the person at the Olympic Solidarity that deals with the winter sports and also with the organizing committee there. So things have been smoothed out, and we are preparing to go. So everything is working quite well, but it is a different challenge. In fact, we got to get clothes. So it's a different challenge, but it's something that we look forward to. And as I said, we are very proud to be a part of it and to let Adam live his dream, because at the end of the day, you go through these things, you prepare, and we have Olympic committees, but then when you realize that we are working for the athletes, and then to have athletes like Adam, the Taisha Harrigans, who have represented the country in such high level. It's make what we're doing meaningful. So we welcome the challenge, just to make sure that he has fulfilled his dream.
Obviously, I understand the principles behind promotion of sons and elite athletes, but part of it also must be an attempt to build the sport or build awareness of the sport. Is there anything, like if somebody from a school wants to get involved, does the Ski Association have anything?
It's really difficult. I mean, we talked about this at length at the very beginning, and I mean, the reality is that skiing's expensive. To do it, you've got to go to snow. You can't really do it any other way unless we were to get an artificial run built here somewhere, and again, that would cost a huge amount of money. We have the mountains, we just don't have the snow. So it's very difficult, and I think, I mean, just in general, there's so many people here that have never seen snow, and so making them understand it is very difficult. And so you have to, the easiest way is to show it to people, is to have them watch things like the X Games and like the previous Winter Olympics, so that they actually see the sport. And I think, again, that's mainly why the sport's why it got into the Olympics, I think, is that, the media and the public in general like watching these sort of extreme sports. And so, yeah, I think that will generate interest amongst kids within the community here, and then it's just really a question of whether they have the ability, and the financial ability, maybe more importantly, to be able to pursue it.
But the nice thing about it is that now, should there be anyone like me who has the ability and has the potential or the opportunity to start skiing, this is now in place for them, should they have the desire to try and compete in the Olympics.
And you said you'd been to a few schools. How did you get received? What was the reaction from the kids who probably were wondering what you were talking about?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a reaction was. When I went to the first school, there was definitely quite a bit of reaction. That was in Crested Butte Academy, because kids were kind of like, okay, kid from the British Virgin Islands now here trying to ski and like learning, and especially from the coaches, that was a big like, okay, like how did you figure this out? But yeah, as I switched schools, obviously it was kind of like a wow thing at first, but it was never too much of a big deal. Kids were pretty normal about it, and yeah.
And when you went to speak at St. George's here and Cedar, because those were the two that you had time to go, and that was awesome. The kids were really, I thought, I was in the background, so was Cleve, they were going, wow. That's the snow, and they had tons of questions. I thought that you were really well, you could talk about that, really well received by those secondary schools.
Were you talking about the schools that I attended, or
well, either way, but
the ones that I visited here? Yeah, okay, sorry, I
how they wondered
misinterpreted.
what on earth was going on.
Yeah. And
how did the snow, did you take snow with you? Or did you demo it?
Yeah, I have a bunch of videos, like throughout the season I film, and that's how you can kind of promote yourself in the sport other than in competition, is through video and photo. So I always, at the end of a season, will make a season edit that you can kind of send out to sponsors. And so when I came here to visit the schools, as it's kind of hard to explain what I do and picture what a half pipe would look like, so I show the video, and then from there talk about it and explain it, and then allow the kids to ask questions and kind of figure more about the sport.
Okay, if I may interject before we go, because I think you hit on a key point there that we need to introduce, that on Saturday the 26th, we're going to have an interactive session at the Tortola Sports Club, where we're going to showcase not only skiing, but the other sports that are going to be competing in the Commonwealth Games and the Veracruz Games. So, and Adam will be there. So the kids, we're inviting the general public to bring as much kids as possible, so that they can actually see, come and greet Adam, and to look at and really get a clearer picture as to what exactly he does. I think that's a good interjection there that you brought up.
You mentioned, I think, the Cayman Islands, Barbados. There's a few Caribbean countries that are associate or full members, or whatever you want to call them. Have you come across any of competitors in your own event from the Caribbean?
Not in my own event. I did go, the school that I attended in Vail, there was a kid, I think his name is Chris Lesueur, and he is competing for Bermuda for mogul skiing. But that's about the only interaction I've had.
And how old are you? Sorry.
I'm 20, but I'll be 21 for the Olympics. I turned 21 in January.
And what sort of skills, I know they've got some esoteric names that no one's going to understand, but what is your couple of your best or most impressive skills that we can look for?
Um,
With the full description. 360, flippy, what's it?
Yeah, so usually I end my run with, it's called a cork 1080, so it's, yes, and that's with a tail grab.
With the tail grab?
Yeah, so that's, as you see here, this is like, when you're doing a trick in the air, you're judged on where and like how you grab your skis. And so that's the grab that I choose. You can grab whatever you'd like in the trick. And so you come up and you kind of set yourself back there over that shoulder, and you flip around and then spin 3 times around. So
Spin 3 times. Frank, can you just describe that?
I'm speechless on that one.
That's 1 flip and 3 spinning rotations.
1 flip and 3 spinning rotations.
Yes.
And that's your your marquee skill.
That's one of the 5 tricks that I usually do in one run. So
10th is your highest place.
I've had higher places, but that was at like a World Cup event. Exactly, yeah. Last year in December at another event called the North Face Park and Pipe Open Series, which is kind of the first event of the season, but it's not a World Cup, so there's no FIS points involved, and I placed 2nd at that. So.
When did you know officially that you qualified?
Pretty much this spring was when I found out, because the season was over and I'd placed in the top 30 and accumulated enough points to.
And sorry, you were here until you say you left to go to high school or left?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what school did you?
I attended Cedar School while I was here, yes, until I left after 2nd grade.
And then the progression, because obviously when you were here you weren't thinking about half pipe, cork 1080s. What was your main interest sports-wise?
I did a lot of surfing while I lived here, and then like skimboarding also, and I was involved in like the sailing school and soccer, so pretty much just general sports, and was very active in sports and always liked them. And then when I moved to the States, carried on with those, and then was introduced to skiing and like bouncing on trampolines, and so that was kind of where that started kicking in.
You mentioned you started on the trampolines, but do you practice these skills like with a trapeze and trampoline still, or how do you practice or know that you can do this cork 1080?
Yeah, exactly.
The first time you try it, it must be kind of worrying. Certainly for your parents, anyway.
It's very scary for the parents here.
Yeah. So how do you hone the skill?
Yeah, so you basically, I mean, the way that I've always done it is, before I was ever like anywhere close to the level of skiing that I'm at now, I had a trampoline in the backyard in Wisconsin when we lived there, and I would spend, I don't even know how many hours on that thing, just throwing myself around and like figuring out rotations. And so that's kind of how you build your comfort to then take it to snow. And so yeah, and I still do that very much so. I'll go, especially with like double corks now, where you're flipping twice and coming down, you practice those on the trampoline, and you can really figure out like where it comes around the second time and like where you are in the air. It helps a lot with air awareness. So very much so, still bounce on the trampoline to figure out new tricks and new rotations.
So for the Olympics, is there anything special you're planning, or are you going to stick to your tried and trusted?
Yeah, I'm in kind of a sticky situation now, because to try anything new, there's obviously the risk of injury, and I would hate for that to happen before February, but it's part of the sport, and so I'm trying not to think of it much, but I would like to involve more doubles in my run for Sochi.
Thank you very much.
Was skateboarding something that you found inspirational before you started, or you used skateboard tricks?
Not so much the tricks, but just you ride a lot of transition on skateboards, which helps with pumping and the transition and the pipe also. And then it's just like a lot of skiers now mimic snowboarding because that was obviously a prior extreme sport before like half pipe skiing or park skiing was around. So a lot of the tricks from that and like sliding rails and tricks that they do in the half pipe, like Shaun White, the professional snowboarder who has 2 Olympic gold medals, is also a professional vert skateboarder. So it's a half pipe for skateboards, and so a lot of his tricks translate from skateboarding to snowboarding. But trick wise, there's not much other than sliding rails that translates, but it's still like it's an extreme sport, so you get the adrenaline and it's like entertaining in that sense, whereas the same as skiing is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So sort of thinking in terms of kids here, if they're trying to associate.
Yeah, and I think if you're doing any sort of extreme sport, you're kind of an adrenaline junkie, and so you can, if you have the willpower, you can make things translate and you can switch over between sports. You just have to have the guts to try different stuff, I guess.
How much more time do you have to put into practicing for this, you suspect?
In terms of what?
To prepare yourself for the Olympics. Do you do it in terms of hours or
the same?
days?
It's usually number one, depending on how I'm feeling that day, like body-wise, because you get very sore from it, especially if you're falling. The half pipe is very icy, especially at the beginning of the season because it's all man-made snow. But I'm gonna treat it like any other season where I just go in and I get the things done that I need to before contests.
And where are you doing most of your preparations in Vailsville?
It's usually at the beginning of the season. It's in Colorado, and Copper Mountain is the first place in the nation to have a half pipe up, and that's where the first 2 contests are. So I drive out. I currently live in Park City, Utah, and so at the beginning of like end of November, beginning of December, I drive out to Colorado and spend usually a month there, where I'm training in the half pipe the whole time, usually like every day. So, and that'll be for 3 or 4 hours a day.
Before we go any further, let me, obviously to the back we have our Secretary General. Let me present Mr. Lloyd Black. Thank you for being here. Our event this Saturday at the sports club, Apollo Sports Club. So you're going to obviously have the opportunity, the public have the opportunity to meet the athletes and coaches preparing to represent the Virgin Islands for 2014. You would obviously get a chance to taste the fitness by trying a sport. Taste natural, nutritious treats. Yes. Obviously you'll have information on fitness, facts, and fun at our multi-sport interactive exhibition. It's on the 26th, as I said, at Apollo Sports Club, 8:30 to 12. It's free, but you get an opportunity for breakfast, only $5, and that will be donated to the VI Cancer Society. And obviously, not to forget our federations that will be taking part: the BVI Ski Association, the BVI Swimming Association, Squash, Racket Association, and of course the Athletics Association. All right. So please, media, spread the word so the whole general public come on. Thank you.